Very, very funny to be back here and remember that day. So. Okay, good morning, friends. Welcome to day 56. I am actually just leaving my campsite. Yesterday, I think I started at breakfast at my campsite. I usually start on the trail. So today, you can see behind me there, I'm leaving Ash Gap. Really great tent site. I had two guys join me here, one from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and one from Fairfax, Virginia. The Fairfax, Virginia hiker is on a section hike, a couple of days in, going to Damascus, and the guy from Grand Rapids is just out here for a couple of nights. He comes down to Atlanta to visit a friend, and usually makes a little hiking adventure on the way. So, but they were great last night. One of the nice things about this tent site is it's literally on the trail. So if I take a few steps, I am now on the trail, headed north. Last night was incredibly windy. It's windy now, but this is kind of a normal wind. Last night around maybe 10 o'clock at night and all the way through about 4 o'clock in the morning. Just sustained, I don't know how hard winds are, but I would say if normal daily winds are 10 to 15 miles an hour, I would say this was somewhere between 30 and 50 miles an hour all night. The Hyperlight mountain gear, unbound two-person tent, held up like a bomb shelter. Really amazing. I even got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and checked all the stakes and checked all the guy lines, and everything was tight as can be. One of the reasons I'm starting this video so soon today is I have a 1,000-foot climb up to Roan Mountain right now. Tough way to start the day, but I knew I didn't want to be huffing and puffing up the hill. So, good morning. It's cold, about 40 degrees, but I did take the time to cook breakfast this morning. You can all guess what I had for breakfast. Good morning. It's supposed to be another beautiful day, so I'm gonna put this camera away and get up this mountain. All right, I'll see you on down the trail. Okay, good morning again, friends. Here's the sign for the Cloudland Hotel site. This is supposed to be a pretty iconic spot on the Appalachian Trail where there used to be a grand hotel. And I guess now is just nothing but some foundation and a few structures. So looks like maybe it's down that way. The Appalachian Trail goes that way. I think I'll just check this out briefly and see what I see. But the other thing is, I'm pretty sure I read that this is our last point above 6,000 feet until the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I think that's what I read somewhere recently in making all my plans. So maybe so. All right, see you on down the trail. Well, I only had to take a few steps to come to the site of the old Cloudland Hotel. And there's not much. It's really just an open area. There appears to be a little piece of a foundation right there, kind of a squared off little remnant of a foundation. Let's see, I see one little stone structure right there. That little wooden thing is a monument. I mean, it explains everything. But behind it is a stone structure. Off back here appears to be a great big field. I don't know if that was part of the structure or not. But this was a late 1800s Grand Hotel, operated from the late 1800s. I think the sign said until 1923 or something like that. And it was the place that people escaped from the cities and rode a long train ride and then a dusty carriage ride to get up to the Cloudland Hotel in the summers to escape the cities. And the sign over there said it was $2 a day for your room and 3 fabulous meals. When I stand here, I can't help but think about the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. Kind of feels like that sort of spot. Let's get completely isolated in the winter. All right, well, this was kind of a cool little side trip. It's back to the trail. We'll see you later. Well, good afternoon, friends. I am at another familiar spot, Carvers Gap. Back in the fall of 2023, my wife and I came here, parked way down that road in North Carolina. You can see the Welcome to North Carolina sign. And it was so crowded that day that we had to park, I'm gonna say about a half a mile down the road, on the side of the road, and then hike back up the road. And it was windy and cold right here in the gap. And then we went and did what I'm gonna do right up there. The AT goes north up there. And we went a few miles up that way and had lunch and then came a few miles back. So a nice little AT hike. So very, very funny to be back here and remember that day. So, all right. Well, it's really overcast today. It was supposed to be sunnier, and most people are saying the weather is going to get a little nicer, but it's a little chilly and a little overcast, but still a great day. It's not raining. All right. See you on down the trail. Good afternoon, friends. It's just about noon, and I am on top of a grassy bald here. It's a very hazy day, but still some pretty spectacular views. So the trail runs right over here. I'm off the trail just a little ways for this little vista. And up there is called Grassy Ridge. That's where my wife and I hiked to a couple of years ago. But the AT is going to go up and over this to these 2 mountains right here, Little Hump and Big Hump. And I am staying right in the middle tonight. So I've got about 9 miles to go up and over, and then up and over Little Hump here. And then tomorrow, I'll hike out here somewhere around behind the town of Roan Mountain, which is right here. So I'll hike out here somewhere. This is pretty amazing. Awesome views. See you on down the trail. And here's the fork in the road. The Appalachian Trail goes that way. And Grassy Ridge, where my wife and I went 2.5 years ago, goes that way. And I have passed probably 24 day hikers today, most of whom have come up about this far or maybe on up to Grassy Ridge. So now that I'm gonna head on down the Appalachian Trail, I think I won't see any people anymore. See you on down the trail. Well, here I am. 2 videos ago, I pointed out Little Hump and Big Hump. And I believe I was standing right maybe in this area here somewhere. But I am now standing on Little Hump. If you back up to those videos, you can see where I said that's where I'm going. And now I'm standing on Little Hump, and right next to me is Big Hump. And somewhere down there in the middle is a little gap. Can't remember the name, but that's where I'm stopping tonight. But look at those views. And this is on a cloudy, hazy day. I wish it was a crystal clear day, but they're still amazing. All right, see you on down the trail. 60 Years of Gratitude, 1993. Okay, 60 Years of Gratitude, 1993. The first thing I'm going to say, this is a little bit of a, I guess a self-disclosure here. I noticed I was looking at the songs, the music that I have queued up for my daughter for the next, well, for all the rest of the years. Bottom line is my taste in music completely stopped evolving in the mid-'80s or in the late 80s. Somehow something in my brain decided that all the music of the 70s and the early 80s, I guess the mid to late 80s too, my college years, that all of that music was enough for me for a lifetime. So I'm just going to go ahead and disclose now that the remainder of the music for all the remainder of the 60 years is by no means top recording artists or top hits of the year or the best music from those years or anything like that. Not that the past was, not that my past years were that, but I had a lot of favorite songs through the 70s and 80s, and selecting 3 or 4 great ones was hard each year. From here on, all the music is a song or 2 or 3 that for me has some very specific nostalgic meaning. So you might hear a few songs and say, that was not a very big song that year, or not their biggest song for that artist, or whatever. Anyway, just gonna go ahead and say that. I don't have much for 1993. Again, not that it wasn't a good year or an important year. Nothing's just jumping out at me. Last episode, I talked about the Faneuil Group and Dennis O'Brien. For 1993, I'm just gonna give a big shout out to the rest of the gang at the Faneuil Group. We were kind of a fun group of people to work with. Pete Miller and Susan and Will and Merle and Mike Flanagan, the whole Chicago office. It was a fun run with the Faneuil Group. And I guess the other shout out I'll give is I moved from Commonwealth Avenue to the Fenway, right in downtown. The street was called the Fenway. 60 the Fenway was my address. Moved in with a bunch of guys, kind of right in the heart of Boston, the college town. So it was a fun year for that, living downtown again. So, but that's all I got for 1993. We'll see you on down the trail. Okay, I've got to show you guys something really funny. One thing hikers do at night, in the morning, when they take a break, as they're hiking, they pull out their phones and use an app called Far Out. Far Out is useful for a lot of things, maps and water, but one thing it's really useful for is elevations. Anytime you're hiking, you can pull out Far Out and look at what's coming up and understand what your next few miles look like. Are they climbs? Are they descents? Are they steep climbs? Are they PUDs, as hikers like to call them, pointless ups and downs, which is several miles of relatively flat, but you go up a couple hundred feet, down a couple hundred feet, up a couple hundred feet, down a couple hundred feet, whatever. We always like to know what's coming. That's what's coming. That's first thing in the morning for me tomorrow morning. I'm about 2/10 from the end of my day. So kind of right over there in that little gap is where I'm stopping, is my campsite. But first thing in the morning, I'm going up Big Hump. That's what that's called. Scott Edgar, I hope you're watching this one. Yeah, hump. It's a mile and about 600 feet. Straight up to the top of Big Hump. So that's what we'll be doing first thing in the morning. No need to check Far Out to see that one. All right, I'll see you on down the trail. Okay. Good evening, friends. Time to wrap up day 56. This could be the most visually spectacular wrap-up I've done yet. I am in Bradley Gap. It was a great day today. I did, I think, exactly 12 miles. I kind of started out with a plan of somewhere between 9 and 12. I had a bunch of options for campsites, and the miles came easy today. It was a nice day for hiking. Overcast most of the day, so it wasn't too hot, but a really nice day. So, and as they say on the trail, when the miles come easy, take them. So I came all the way to Bradley Gap. I showed you a little bit earlier. I am stopped right at the bottom of Big Hump, and that, where is it? There. That is the view to the east. That is my view to the west and my tent. Now, the good news is I probably am going to have a spectacular sunrise tomorrow morning. The bad news is I'm pretty exposed here, and it's windy and cold. It is not supposed to rain tonight, but those look like rain clouds. So, and the sun is about to go down. It's behind the clouds anyway, but it's about to go down. You can probably hear the wind in my microphone, and it's getting cold. So, supposed to be a mild night with no rain, but perhaps up at this elevation, exposed like I am, I might get some rain, I might get some cold. So I'm going to climb into my tent and hope that my Hyperlight Mountain Gear unbound two-person tent can sustain some high winds and go to bed. So that wraps up day 56. We'll see you in the morning. Good night.